NASA just turned off the live stream, and a huge number of watchers are wondering what sort of object was crossing the sun once again. A strange phenomenon appeared directly before the sun, and NASA is clearly making every effort to ensure that no one observes these surprising events. When images do appear in the media, unusual objects and fast spots are usually explained away as satellites or bugs that are evidently playing tricks in front of the telescope lens. But can this, in fact, be true? Or are we being misled for a very extraordinary reason? That's the question of the day. NASA repeatedly turns off live transmissions when unusual things are visible. This applies to the ISS cameras as well as to the live transmissions from the SOHO Solar Observatory. Reportedly, NASA then maintains that the cameras are undergoing maintenance, or there are brief blackouts just by coincidence. Amateur astronomers and UFO enthusiasts have long since stopped believing these excuses. The timing of the shutdowns is too precise, and NASA critics agree. In May 2022, amateur researchers and official representatives from NASA and ESA clashed over this controversial phenomenon. The strange square was visible in the image for just a few seconds before the screen went dark. A SOHO fan was quick enough to capture the scene before it was turned off. The SOHO project is the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, a joint mission by NASA and the European Space Agency, ESA. The images provide a stunning view of the sun around the clock. The mission's goal is to constantly monitor solar activity and develop an early warning system for violent solar storms and particle streams that could impact Earth's magnetic field. Unusual observations around the sun seem to be common. After the interruption, the live stream of the sun was unavailable for an entire 8 hours in May 2022. The official reason given was maintenance work. This was followed by a public statement from SOHO mission director Bernard Fleck, in which the scientist outright dismissed claims that a UFO might have been seen and that NASA was trying to cover it up. Fleck called the idea complete nonsense and explained that the square was the result of a damaged telemetry block, which led to missing transmission data and, ultimately, to the prominent square spot. Despite the explanation, the bizarre sighting continued to fuel widespread speculation in the media. Alien theories and wild claims spread rapidly across the world. While many of these reports were undoubtedly exaggerated, we are still left to wonder why NASA always turns off the cameras at critical moments and why they, along with the scientists involved, always have an almost perfect explanation that completely excludes paranormal phenomena. A camera glitch? Definitely not. Keep an eye out for the small dark spot that quickly passes in front of the sun. The object races past the star at lightning speed. The anomaly crosses the image from left to right in a nearly straight line, with remarkable precision. Once again, this image caused quite a stir among those who closely monitor the sun and search for signs of mysterious and intriguing events. This discovery turned out to be a lucky break for all UFO trackers. We can see the sun so well in the video because it has been greatly darkened. With the unaided eye, we wouldn't be able to see objects like this passing in front of the sun in transit. But what was it? A UFO? Or simply something that can be explained logically? The official explanations for such sightings are birds, bugs, satellites, or even image interference. However, we can safely rule out image interference here. Light or data errors and reflections don't move in a straight line across the image. Birds fly in completely different ways and wouldn't travel so deliberately and quickly. The same applies to bugs fluttering through the air. Could it be a planetary transit? In the excitement surrounding the electrifying video, the idea of a Mercury transit quickly came up. Visually, the scene does resemble a flyby of tiny Mercury. However, closer examination ruled this out. Mercury's transit paths are quite different, and the speed of the object also differs significantly from that of Mercury. Let's consider the possibility that we are dealing with a satellite. At first, this seems plausible. But again, the details tell a different story. The object takes too long to pass by. If it were a near-Earth satellite, the transit would be much quicker. The distance, flight path, and size of the object suggest that it must be farther away from Earth than a satellite. Moreover, it is quite large, otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see it against the huge sun. If this explanation is unsatisfactory, we are left with options like asteroids, comets, or space debris. But here again, the trajectory, turn, and size ratios measured against the speed do not match. It can't be the Parker Solar Probe either because it would be too small compared to the size of the Sun. This leaves one wild explanation, the mysterious planet Vulcan. Anyone who loves Star Trek knows Vulcan as the home of the sharp-eared and highly logical Vulcans. But what few people know is that Vulcan actually existed, or was at least thought to exist, in real life. The planet Vulcan was a hypothetical idea proposed in the 19th century to explain certain anomalies in Mercury's orbit. The idea originated from French mathematician Urbain Jean-Joseph Leverrier, who used similar anomalies in planetary orbits to discover Uranus. Leverrier named the hypothetical planet Vulcan. He and other astronomers tried to observe this planet, especially during solar eclipses, in order to reduce the sun's brightness and increase the visibility of objects nearby. Interestingly, astronomers reported sightings of several objects during this time that were believed to be Vulcan. However, the planet was never confirmed to be real. The open question of Mercury's orbital anomaly was finally resolved by Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity. But today, we still don't know what exactly astronomers saw when they thought they had observed Vulcan. It's possible that they were seeing precisely the kinds of objects that still puzzle us today. One particularly overwhelming image of the sun's fiery surface shows glowing streams of fire and intense disturbances on our star. It's a mesmerizing sight for anyone watching. But what is that? We see another object in the image from the Solar Observatory, which was explained away as a sensor error. Yet, if we zoom in close enough, the object becomes more visible, suggesting it is something more than just a glitch. It's round, almost uniform, and thickens in places. It might look like a hair on the lens, but it's too symmetrical for that. The object also wobbles strangely, as though it's moving or fluctuating. Could this mean something? A sensor error is possible, but the object is moving too erratically for that. An error would likely be more static in the image. Instead, this thing seems to be affected by the sun's emissions. Another clue that the object is near the sun is the fact that the strangely ring-shaped item only becomes visible when we zoom into the image. If it were just a lens issue or something near the telescope, it would be much more visible. Consistently, the entire time, if this article is actually so near the sun, we really need to know about the scales and surrounding temperatures in the broader environment of the sun. The so-called corona temperatures are far higher than near the outer layer of the sun. Whether in the corona or closer to the surface, in both cases, we are discussing temperatures of between 5,000 and over 1 million degrees. A normal object made of matter can, therefore, not really be near the sun. Our Parker Solar Probe flies through the solar corona several times over the course of the entire mission, approaching up to around 6.16 million kilometers and having to endure temperatures of around 1,377 degrees Celsius. The probe then zooms around the sun again in a wide arc, recovers, and then approaches it again. It is a technical masterpiece that the probe can endure this. The construction is made of a highly heat-resistant carbon composite material, and the sensitive parts are protected by special solar shields and by being kept some distance from the surface of the sun. If this object floating before the sun isn't material, what is it? We will probably never know. How likely are UFOs before the sun? We should shed some light on the exciting question of how likely UFOs are near the sun, or how likely the real presence of flying saucers is overall. So far, there is no real evidence. There has never been a solid, observable, or detectable flying saucer on this world or in the surrounding area. Astronauts on the ISS consistently report strange and mysterious sightings in the area of the space station, but no one has ever officially seen a real UFO with aliens. The UFO-like objects and sightings are astounding. Most of them are geometric light patterns, shadows that show objects hidden in the dark with weak lighting, or dubious movements. similar phenomena also appeared around SpaceX space shuttles. Again, the objects or lights are not identifiable. They are not clearly UFOs or spaceships, but phenomena for which there is no good explanation. On Earth itself, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of UFO sightings every year. Witnesses report seeing both UFOs and aliens. Among the best evidence for the real presence of such craft are video recordings from the U.S. Navy and other international military organizations. The planes of the fighter pilots are equipped with automatic airspace monitoring. If these sensors detect a strange rocket, an alarm is triggered immediately. In this way, a number of unidentifiable flying objects have now been recorded very well. Their movement patterns are similar in many respects to the flight behavior of the object that crossed the sun. Subscribe to the channel now and be part of every new video.